Bitcoin is already regulated under the existing anti-money laundering laws. And the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, made that clear as early as 2013. And large exchanges like Coinbase and others have been operating under those regulations since that time. So it's already regulated in that way.
Regulated in that way, except for the fact that it's still used for all sorts of money laundering and it's much harder to track.
Well, actually, I would disagree with that. I testified before the Senate just about a week ago on this exact point, and I was asked, is it really that hard to track? And I can tell you that I prosecuted some cases where, had other mechanisms of payment been used, we would not have caught those nefarious actors because of the traceability of an asset like Bitcoin using the blockchain. And I have personal experience bringing those cases forward. So actually, a lot of the early days, people thought, including criminals, oh, Bitcoin is totally anonymous. But in fact, the reverse is true. It's pseudonymous. Now, you do have some privacy coins coming on the market, but we're talking just about Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is really pseudonymous, and it is traceable. So it's not a great use case for criminals.
Are you of the view, and you're on the board of Coinbase, so you have to be long Bitcoin and long cryptocurrency writ large, but the biggest question and biggest overhang over all of this is whether governments are ultimately going to allow these things to continue apace. And clearly you're on the side of wanting it to continue apace, but in the conversations you're having with regulators, what are you hearing?
Well, I think there are a lot of regulators who want it to continue apace, but who want it to continue apace responsibly. And I think that's something that a company like Coinbase shares, and that's something that the government shares, is scale and get more mainstream adoption responsibly. But I am hearing that from regulators. You know, regulators are piloting plenty of programs, and this is not widely known, but regulators themselves, whether at the state level or at the federal level, are doing pilot programs, not only with Bitcoin, but with the underlying technology, blockchain. And I think that's pretty powerful.
What were we going to say?
What do you think, Catherine? Is it likely to be held as a currency going forward, or is there a chance it's going to be classified as a security?
Well, I think it really depends on what the underlying asset class you're talking about. So if you're talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum, or if you're talking about Litecoin, for example, those things, right now, when you look at them, they are being used more as commodities, kind of like digital gold. Early days, crypto, a lot of people were very excited about the potential for Bitcoin to become a payment mechanism. Of course, in order to become a payment mechanism, what you need is people to be spending the Bitcoin. And what we're seeing right now is with 1,500% appreciation in Bitcoin this year alone, we're seeing people want to hold on to their Bitcoin as an investment. So I think that could change over time. But right now, I'm certainly viewing it as more of a digital gold investment. But that's right now. And this space, one thing we know for sure is that the space changes, and it changes rapidly.
Catherine, we noticed that David Marcus at Facebook joined the board of Coinbase just yesterday. Any expectation that Facebook is going to start using Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies within its messaging platforms?
Well, look, we're thrilled that someone like David Marcus joined the board of Coinbase, and I think that just underscores the point I'm making of this mainstream adoption that we're really seeing starting to happen when you have someone like David Marcus join, and when you have market participants, including traditional market participants, start getting involved with something like Bitcoin. But I think David brings tremendous experience to Coinbase's board. Look, he was also the president of PayPal, and so he led their acquisition of Braintree. That said, he's at Facebook now, as you point out. I wouldn't read anything too much into what that foretells for Bitcoin or for Coinbase. I think we're all just tremendously excited to have David's experience as we continue to scale this company.
And Catherine, before I let you go, a lot of speculation within the cryptocurrency world about what the next cryptocurrency is that you're going to bring onto Coinbase. A lot of people talk about Zcash. They talk about different. Can you give us any insight into how you guys even think about that?
Well, I certainly can't tell you what assets that Coinbase is looking at, if any, if we're even looking at adding any. I can't comment on that publicly. What I can tell you is that just a couple weeks ago, Coinbase published a framework as to how it thinks about going about adding new assets or tokens, and that's publicly available. We published that through GDAX, which is our institutional brokerage, and GDAX is the digital currency exchange. which is a subsidiary of Coinbase, of course. And so in that framework, we talk about a number of different factors that the company will look to. We look at the quality of the engineering teams, the expected volume, regulatory considerations, and a whole host of other considerations.
Are you allowed to own all those currencies ahead of that decision, personally?
Well, we have certain policies that preclude employees and also board members from acting on non-public information.